Hi, everyone. Imagine a young designer named Sarah, brimming with ambition. She dreamt of becoming a renowned artist, working tirelessly towards her goal. Yet, every time someone offered feedback, it felt like a direct assault. They just don't understand my talent, she'd tell herself. When her boss suggested improvements, her internal response was always, "Why should I change? I know exactly what I'm doing." Over time, she noticed her colleagues growing, evolving, and advancing, while she remained strangely stagnant. Opportunities that seemed within reach inexplicably slipped away, leaving her bewildered. The turning point arrived one day when a junior designer, someone she had mentored, was promoted over her. That's when it truly hit her. Her own ego had been the invisible barrier, holding her back all along. How often do we, too, allow our pride to stifle our ability to learn, to grow, and to truly succeed? To win in life, we must conquer our ego before it has a chance to kill our potential. My name is Muniba Mazari, and I am a motivational speaker. If this message resonates with you, I invite you to show your support and join me on this journey. Please consider sharing this with anyone who needs to hear it most. Ego, you see, is like an invisible chain, binding people and preventing them from reaching their true potential. It's that insidious whisper in your ear, telling you you're always right, that there's no need to listen, no need to learn. It cunningly convinces you that admitting a mistake is a sign of weakness, when in reality, it's the very first, most crucial step toward growth. Many people stumble not from a lack of talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because they allow their ego to seize control. Ego erects walls between us, fostering the belief that we are superior, that we know everything, that our way is the only way. It's an illusion. Life simply doesn't work like that. No one possesses all the answers. No one is perfect. The moment we stop learning, stop listening, stop growing, that is precisely when our decline begins. Think about those who consistently sidestep responsibility for their failures. They invariably blame circumstances, other people, or just bad luck. Why? Because their ego simply won't permit them to admit they might be wrong. They repeat the same mistakes, not by changing their approach, but by masterfully crafting excuses. Real growth, true personal transformation, begins when we gaze honestly into a mirror and dare to say, "Perhaps I need to improve. Perhaps I need to change." But an ego-driven mind will never allow that powerful realization to surface. It will convince you that you are right, even as everything around you crumbles. Ego doesn't merely hinder personal growth, it actively dismantles relationships. Someone consumed by ego finds it incredibly difficult to utter those two simple words, "I'm sorry." They cling to grudges, refuse to compromise, and inadvertently push away the very people who care about them most. How many friendships, marriages, and families have fractured simply because someone refused to set their ego aside? Sometimes, one word, one genuine apology, is all it takes to mend a rift. But ego makes us so stubborn, so entrenched, that we'd rather lose someone precious than admit we were wrong. In the professional world, ego can be a catastrophic barrier to success. An individual who dismisses feedback, believes they know everything, and looks down on colleagues will never truly go far. The most successful people on earth aren't those who claim to have all the answers. They are the perpetual learners, always willing to grow. They surround themselves with individuals who challenge them, teach them, and push them forward. But an egoistic person perceives feedback as criticism, guidance as an attack, and teamwork as a threat. This is why so many talented individuals remain stuck, their pride obstructing their progress. Ego also cultivates fear. Fear of appearing weak, fear of failure, fear of judgment. People with oversized egos often project an image of invincibility, but beneath that facade, they are often the most insecure. They cannot tolerate failure because it shatters their carefully constructed illusion of perfection. They can't ask for help because they see it as a sign of weakness. Yet, the truth is, the strongest among us are those who readily admit when they need support, who aren't afraid to say, "I don't know, but I am willing to learn." Life is an ongoing journey of continuous learning, unlearning, and growth. The instant someone believes they've reached the summit, that they know everything, their progress halts. And when progress stops, the descent begins. Ego doesn't make a person powerful. It blinds them. It traps them within their own false sense of superiority, causing them to miss opportunities, alienate friends, and even lose their own happiness. The individuals who achieve true, enduring success are the ones who shed their ego and wholeheartedly embrace growth. They understand that real power doesn't come from proving you're the best, but from constantly striving to be better than you were yesterday. They grasp that listening, learning, and adapting to change are not indicators of weakness, but rather the greatest strengths one can possess. True strength doesn't lie in arrogance, dominance, or in proving others wrong. True strength is rooted in humility. It takes immense courage to accept that you don't know everything, to admit when you're mistaken, and to learn from others without feeling inferior. The world frequently confuses confidence with ego, but there's a crucial distinction. Confidence empowers a person to grow, while ego relentlessly blocks the path to progress. A humble individual understands that learning is an unending process. Regardless of the success they achieve, the knowledge they gain, or the heights they reach, they forever remain a student of life. They listen far more than they speak and remain open to new perspectives. Conversely, an egoistic person refuses to listen, convinced they already possess enough knowledge, that advice is for others, not for them. And that, ultimately, is why they fall behind. Humility isn't weakness, it is profound wisdom. A strong person isn't someone who never fails, but someone who embraces their failures, learns from them, and bravely moves forward. When a person is ruled by ego, they perceive failure as humiliation, taking it personally, as if it defines their entire worth. But a humble person sees failure as a valuable lesson, an invaluable opportunity to grow. They understand that every mistake carries wisdom, and they leverage it to become better. A humble person doesn't need to shout to earn respect. Their actions naturally command it. People are inherently drawn to those who uplift others, rather than those who constantly seek to prove their own superiority. Someone who incessantly boasts about their achievements, belittles others, and never admits mistakes may appear powerful externally, but deep down, they are often deeply insecure. True strength emerges when you don't need to prove your worth to anyone because you inherently know who you are. Humility also fosters deeper, more meaningful relationships. Nobody enjoys being around someone who constantly talks about themselves, never listens, and always needs to be the smartest in the room. But people are powerfully drawn to those who respect them, who listen attentively, and who genuinely value their opinions. Being humble doesn't mean thinking less of yourself. It means simply thinking of others too. It means understanding that every person has something valuable to teach, something meaningful to share. In life, there will always be moments when ego attempts to seize control. When success arrives, it's easy to think, I did this all on my own. I don't need anyone. But the truth is, no one succeeds in isolation. Behind every achievement are people who offered help, support, and guidance. A humble person acknowledges this, remaining grateful and grounded. They don't allow success to alter their core identity. They remember their origins and those who stood by them. Conversely, an egoistic person takes all the credit, forgetting that life is inherently unpredictable. The very individuals they disregard on their ascent may be the ones they desperately need on their descent. Humility also cultivates fearlessness. An ego-driven person constantly obsesses over their image. They dread appearing weak, fear admitting what they don't know, and are terrified of being judged. But a humble person is liberated from such fears. They don't pretend to be perfect, and that is precisely what makes them powerful. They can walk into any room, face any challenge, and openly declare, I don't have all the answers, but I am willing to learn. In the end, strength isn't measured by how loudly a person speaks, how much they boast, or how many people fear them. It's measured by how many people genuinely respect them, how much wisdom they carry, and how open they are to continuous growth. A person who embraces humility gains the profound power to learn, to improve, and to build lasting success. Because real strength isn't about proving you're the best, It's about consistently becoming better every single day. Ego doesn't just halt personal growth, it destroys relationships and steals happiness. It builds invisible barriers between people, making them believe that winning an argument is more important than preserving a connection, that being right is more valuable than being kind, and that apologizing is a sign of weakness. But the truth is, those who relinquish ego and choose understanding over pride are the ones who experience genuine peace and joy in life. How many friendships, marriages, and families have been irrevocably broken because of ego? A small misunderstanding escalates into a massive conflict because no one wants to back down. Two people who once deeply cared for each other now refuse to even speak, simply because both are waiting for the other to say, sorry, first. But what does it truly cost to take that first step? Nothing. In fact, the capacity to apologize, to listen, to compromise, that is what makes a person truly strong. Ego makes people cling to grudges, falsely believing that by remaining angry, they are punishing the other person. In reality, they are only punishing themselves. Carrying resentment is like bearing a heavy burden on your shoulders. It exhausts you, drains your energy, and keeps you trapped in the past. The most peaceful people in the world aren't those who have never been hurt, but those who have mastered the art of letting go. They don't allow their ego to dictate their emotions. They choose their peace over their pride. Ego also prevents people from genuinely appreciating others. It convinces a person that they don't need anyone, that they achieved everything on their own, that saying, thank you, makes them appear small. But gratitude is not a weakness, it is a profound strength. A person who can genuinely appreciate others, who can give credit where it's due, who can acknowledge the efforts of those around them, earns respect and love in return. But an egoistic person isolates themselves. They believe they are above others, but in reality, they are simply alone. In relationships, ego is often cleverly disguised as self-respect. Of course, self-respect is vital, but there's a crucial difference between self-respect and stubbornness. Self-respect means valuing yourself enough to step away from things that harm you. But stubbornness means rigidly refusing to bend, even when bending could save something precious. Sometimes, a simple conversation, an open heart, a willingness to listen, can mend what ego yearns to destroy. Ego doesn't just impact personal relationships, it ruins opportunities too. When someone is incapable of receiving feedback, accepting advice, or acknowledging that they need improvement, they effectively close the doors to success. Many people remain stuck in the same place for years, not due to a lack of potential, but because their ego prevents them from growing. They refuse to admit that they need to change, that there is still more to learn. But the ones who truly succeed are those who are open, who listen, who choose to improve instead of defending. Ego creates loneliness. It causes a person to push away those who love them, those who could have offered guidance, those who would have stood by them. It instills a fear of vulnerability. Yet, there is immense strength in being vulnerable, in being able to say, I was wrong, I need help, or I'm sorry. These simple words possess the power to heal wounds, to rebuild trust, and to draw people closer. At the end of the day, what truly matters most? Being right or being happy? Winning the argument or preserving the relationship? Protecting your pride or protecting your peace? Ego will always choose the first option, but wisdom will consistently choose the second. And those who choose wisdom, those who choose peace, those who choose love over pride, those are the ones who truly win in life. Successful people are not the ones who shout the loudest, who demand respect, or who constantly remind others of their achievements. The truly successful are the ones who choose humility over pride, who listen more than they speak, and who lift others instead of putting them down. They understand that leadership isn't about being above people, but about walking beside them. The most powerful individuals are not those who seek control over others, but those who inspire through their actions. Ego makes a person believe they constantly have to prove their worth. It makes them seek validation in titles, status, and attention. But real success isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about knowing who you are, what you stand for, and carrying yourself with quiet confidence. A truly successful person doesn't need to remind others of their greatness. their work, their kindness, and their wisdom speak for themselves. People who choose humility over pride build stronger relationships. In any workplace, any business, any team, the people who rise the highest are not those who believe they are better than everyone else. They are the ones who respect others, who give credit where it is due, who celebrate the success of their peers instead of feeling threatened by it. A true leader is not someone who stands alone at the top, but someone who actively brings others up with them. A person ruled by ego sees competition everywhere. They perceive another person's success as a direct threat. Instead of learning from those who are doing better, they become jealous, bitter, or defensive. But a humble person understands that there is ample success for everyone. They are secure in their own journey, and instead of competing with others, they focus intently on improving themselves. They know that success isn't about being the best, it's about being better than you were yesterday. Humility also allows people to receive feedback without feeling personally attacked. An egoistic person views criticism as an insult, even if it's constructive. They become defensive, refuse to listen, and thus shut down opportunities to grow. But successful people welcome feedback because they know there is always room for improvement. They don't interpret advice as a sign of weakness, they see it as a valuable tool to become better. Look at the most admired leaders, the most respected figures throughout history. The ones who truly left a lasting mark on the world were not those who ruled with arrogance, but those who led with wisdom and grace. People don't follow a leader because they are feared, they follow a leader because they are inspired. And inspiration flows from humility, from kindness, from the profound ability to connect with others on a deeply human level. Humility also ensures that success lasts. Many people ascend to the top but fall just as quickly because they allow their ego to take over. They forget those who helped them, they stop listening, stop learning, stop growing. They begin to think they are invincible. But life has a way of humbling those who forget their origins. On the other hand, those who remain humble, who continue to respect and uplift others, who never cease learning, those are the ones who build an enduring legacy. At the end of the day, success isn't solely about wealth, fame, or power. It is about the positive impact you leave, the people you inspire, and the depth of the relationships you build. And those who truly understand this are the ones who consistently choose humility over pride. They know that real greatness isn't about standing above others, but about walking with them, learning from them, and helping them rise. Because, truly, in lifting others, we ourselves rise. Letting go of ego is not merely about abandoning a false sense of superiority, it is about wholeheartedly embracing growth. True growth begins when we stop defending our limitations and start accepting that we can always become better. Ego traps us in the belief that we are already enough, that we don't need to improve, that we know everything there is to know. But the moment we release that ego, we unlock infinite possibilities. Growth flourishes when we stop protecting our image and allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to be open to learning, and to evolve into the very best version of ourselves. When you allow your ego to dictate your actions, you cease growing because you refuse to accept criticism, advice, or change. You become stagnant. Life starts to feel like a monotonous routine, as if you're trapped in the same spot, moving in circles. Yet, in reality, no one achieves success alone. The most successful people are those who recognize the immense value of learning from others, who actively seek out mentorship, and who enthusiastically embrace new ideas. They understand that growth is not linear, it is an ongoing journey of continuous learning and adaptation. The moment you kill your ego, you open yourself up entirely to improvement. You admit that there are areas where you can be better. You accept that you are not perfect, and crucially, that's perfectly okay. This profound self-awareness is the foundational step towards growth. It empowers you to take on challenges, to confront fears, and to make mistakes without being paralyzed by the fear of failure. Failure is not a setback, it's a stepping stone to progress. When ego is in control, failure feels like a personal attack. But when you let go of ego, failure transforms into a valuable lesson, an opportunity to learn and perform better next time. Ego also prevents you from seeing the bigger picture. It narrows your focus exclusively to yourself, to your own desires and fears. But when you release your ego, you begin to perceive the world through a broader lens. You start to recognize the immense value in other people's experiences, ideas, and perspectives. You begin to learn from those around you, not just from books or formal education, but from the deep wisdom that life teaches through others. Real growth happens when you stop viewing life as a competition and start seeing it as a community. There is so much wisdom in others, and when you open your mind and heart, you gain access to that incredible knowledge. Consider the people who have achieved remarkable things, whether in business, art, science, or personal development. They ask insightful questions. They actively seek out feedback, and they surround themselves with people who challenge them to think differently. This insatiable thirst for improvement, for knowledge, for growth, is what distinguishes them. Ego, conversely, keeps you isolated in a bubble, shielded from new ideas and experiences. It makes you believe that you've reached the pinnacle when, in reality, you're only at the very beginning of your potential. When you kill your ego, you grant yourself the ultimate freedom to grow without fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of making mistakes, these are all driven by ego. Ego tells you that your image, your pride, is more important than your progress. But once you let go of that false belief, you can focus entirely on your growth. You can fall and rise again, learn from your mistakes, experiment with new things, and push yourself further than you ever imagined possible. Ego creates boundaries. Humility obliterates them. The path to personal growth demands vulnerability. It requires being open to the fact that you don't possess all the answers, that you need help, that you need guidance. But ego fiercely resists vulnerability. It tells you that asking for help is weak, that admitting you don't know something is embarrassing. When you let go of ego, you dismantle those barriers. You allow yourself to be imperfect, to be authentic, and to wholeheartedly embrace the continuous process of becoming better, little by little, every single day. Growth is a constant journey, never a final destination. It's about making small, consistent improvements every single day. And the only way to make those improvements is to kill the ego that holds you captive, the voice that tells you you're already enough, that you don't need to change. When you release that ego, you realize that you can always be better, that there is always more to learn, and that the journey of growth truly never ends. Happiness is not found in tirelessly proving yourself to others. It is not in being right all the time or in ensuring that everyone recognizes your worth. Happiness is found in peace. The profound peace that comes from letting go of the relentless need to control, the insistent need to win, the ceaseless need to always be seen as the best. Ego creates unnecessary struggles. It transforms life into a constant competition where you are perpetually striving to outshine, outsmart, or outdo others. But what is the true point of winning if, in the process, you forfeit your inner peace? Ego makes people chase external validation. It convinces them that their worth is measured by the amount of attention they receive, the status they hold, or how many people admire them. But the truth is, no matter how much recognition you accumulate, it will never truly be enough if you are seeking happiness outside yourself. Ego makes happiness conditional. I will be happy when I prove them wrong. I will be happy when people respect me. I will be happy when I show them what I'm capable of. But real happiness doesn't depend on anyone else. It emanates from within. It comes from being content with who you are, whether or not the world applauds you. A person driven by ego is always restless. They are constantly waiting for approval, endlessly comparing themselves to others, always terrified of being perceived as weak. They cannot truly savor success because they are too preoccupied with ensuring that others acknowledge it. They cannot truly enjoy relationships because they are too focused on their pride. They cannot fully enjoy the present moment because they are too caught up in how they appear to others. But when you let go of ego, you set yourself free. You stop chasing recognition. You stop worrying about how people perceive you. You start living for yourself, not for the expectations of others. Letting go of ego allows you to experience genuine connections. Ego makes relationships conditional. I will be kind if they respect me first. I will apologize only if they admit they were wrong. I will support them only if they acknowledge me. But happiness in relationships springs from unconditional love, from being able to forgive, to understand, to appreciate others without keeping score. When you let go of ego, you stop holding grudges, and in return, you create vast space for peace. You realize that some fights are simply not worth it, that some arguments are better left unresolved, that sometimes walking away with your peace is far more valuable than proving a point. Ego makes life heavier. It burdens you with unnecessary weight, resentment, comparison, overthinking, and pride. But the happiest people are the ones who travel light. They don't cling to things that steal their peace. They don't waste time trying to prove themselves to those who don't matter. They don't allow their pride to prevent them from experiencing love, joy, and growth. They understand that true strength lies in choosing peace over pride, love over ego, and happiness over pointless battles. Think about it. What truly brings real happiness? Is it having the last word in an argument? Is it proving someone wrong? Is it making sure people never see you struggle? Or is it living a life free from the relentless need to impress? Free from the heavy weight of competition? Free from the paralyzing fear of judgment? Happiness is not about showcasing to the world how strong, smart, or capable you are. It is about being at peace with yourself, knowing that you are enough, just as you are. When you let go of ego, you create ample space for true happiness. You stop needing validation. You stop competing with others. And you begin to genuinely enjoy life for what it is. You find joy in the little things, in meaningful conversations, in quiet moments of reflection, in simple acts of kindness. You no longer carry the heavy burden of pride. And in return, you gain something far more valuable: freedom. Freedom to be entirely yourself, to live fully, and to experience happiness without any limits.